This morning in Sunday school, we were talking about the ending of the Gospel of Mark. The Gospel of Mark does not end like the other three Gospels. The original ending ends at the time when the women discover an empty tomb and are trying to understand it. They are afraid and they have trembling, it says, because they didn't understand. They told no one. And this is very different. There's no story about Jesus interacting with his disciples, no story about Jesus teaching his disciples, and no story about the ascension in Mark. Those were in the other Gospels. Welcome to one of our vlogs here from our videos here from St. Mark's Episcopal in Dalton. We're still in the Easter season, which goes on for 50 days after Easter Sunday. So we're still in Easter thinking about that so we can learn about God's message from the Easter story. We're tempted to kind of criticize or be bewildered by the first Christians at Easter because they were sort of unbelieving and confused about what was going on. But you got to consider very few of the people of the followers actually saw Jesus or interacted with Jesus, and even several who did not recognize who he was. Probably others had heard some rumors about Jesus' resurrection, but they came from sort of unreliable sources in many cases. So and what they were describing was unbelievable or unimaginable. So they were they probably heard the story of the temple curtain being torn. They heard the story about the centurion saying, surely this man is the Son of God. And they probably heard about the women being so afraid they didn't go and tell anybody because they were so afraid of what was going on. Recently I became aware of a songwriter named David Olney. And I never had heard of him before, to be honest with you, but he has written an album and sings in the album called The Stone, which is about the Passion Week of Christ, the last week of Christ, the Easter story. And he takes it from the perspective of people who were sort of on the periphery of that, not about Jesus or the disciples, about different characters. But the final song, which had a big effect on me, obviously, is called A Soldier's Story. And this is a story of a career military person in the Roman army who is a very good soldier, brave soldier, proving himself in war. And he is over the command of the group that's supposed to be guarding the tomb. And he has to go and report to superior that beyond his understanding, the tomb is empty. So I'm going to quote, what Olney writes here and try to do that. These are the lyrics. He says to his superior, "The execution took place as intended. The rites we fear did not occur." Says, "You know how I feel about my duty to you, and it is with my deepest shame that I must report the body is gone." It says, "Sir, there is a force at work here beyond a soldier's power to understand." It says, "One night I have grown old and uncertain, and I long for the comfort of home. Exactly what has changed, I cannot say, sir, but I fear for the future of Rome." What was going on is that God was doing something divine, something miraculous that will change the world. And the soldier doesn't understand it, very few people did. But this change is still going on. And this Easter, as well as in the first Easter, God is doing something divine. God is doing something miraculous that will change the world. So for that we will say, thanks be to God. Hallelujah.